Oh, hi, Troll Buddy Zoo, and today we're taking a look at yet another R36 clone, the R36T Max. We've seen this TV bubble lens combination before in the regular R36T, which is somehow our most viewed video of all time. The R36T Max here is powered by the RK3326 chip, which is just the old man of the emulation scene at this point. The chip is a means to an end, though. We know it maxes out at PlayStation 1. We're not going to squeeze any new performance out of it. What we are going to get, though, are cool new looks, cool new form factors, cool new designs. And I guess that's why I like it so much, because it's historically inaccurate, it's technically unnecessary, but it's neat. It's unique. It's got a vibe going for it. So stay tuned and see why this one-by-one device with a bubble screen has captured my interest much more than all the other garbage you can find on AliExpress. Let's address the elephant in the room right off the bat, because this thing has a CRT-style curved screen lens. But you know what never had CRT screens? Game Boys! It's like putting a record player filter on a Spotify playlist. It's anachronistic, it's technically wrong, but somehow it kind of works, even though it shouldn't. The bubble lens on here creates a subtle depth that flat screens just don't have. Does it make the game better? No. Does it make it feel different? Absolutely. It's kind of like the difference between reading a book on Kindle versus reading an actual book. They're functionally identical, but the experience is different, sometimes drastically so. And here's the thing. I know it's fake nostalgia because the Game Boy had a flat LCD screen. But our memories aren't about accuracy. They're about feeling. And this feels like playing old games, even if the specifics are historically wrong. Does that make sense? Am I just rambling into the void here? I don't know. Let's do a real quick device tour before we get into the meat of the video. This thing is just a longer version of the R36T. It has the same wood grain. It has the same kind of feel. You will notice it has two sticks instead of one, which it's not going to help you out with much outside of, Ape Escape? The overall feel of this is actually really good because it has these nice butt doots on the back. Your hands can really grip around these contours. These shoulder buttons and the trigger buttons have a nice slope to them, and it's just really like an unexpected ergonomic experience for a $35, $40 giant fake CRT handheld. This thing comes in a bunch of color options, including this retro fridge, I guess shade of teal, but I obviously went with wood grain to make it look more like a TV. And every time I show people this, or I show them the R36T, they all assume that the D-pad is absolute garbage. And let's not act like this is the best D-pad I've ever used, because it's not. But it's actually way better than you'd think by just looking at it. Maybe I got low standards, but it's decently precise, which is not what I assumed when I first saw the design. I wasn't able to pull off fighting game moves consistently, but that's what the analog sticks are for. My one big complaint, though, is that these shoulder buttons, oh, they're so loud. I'm changing all my color options here. Listen to them. Sounds like a IBM keyboard. And of course, start and select, not much better. And I just reset. There it is. I reset emulation station there. But yeah, these buttons, they're so clicky. It just, honestly, it makes it kind of hard to play when you're around other people. Let's talk about old arcade games for a second here before we go back to Game Boy. Because arcade games are where this thing's identity starts to click into place. You know why? Because arcade cabinets actually had CRT screens, and for the most part, they were made out of wood. This one-by-one square screen, it's perfect for vertical shooters or old arcade games that ran in Tate mode. The bubble lens, that's how these games actually looked in the arcade. Load up Galaga or Donkey Kong, and suddenly you're not holding an anachronism. You're holding something that feels right. 1942, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, all these games were designed for CRT displays. They had scan lines, they had that curved glass, they had that specific look, and they were vertical arcade games. And the R36T Max, accidentally or intentionally, it captures that. And that's pretty cool. And I guess this is where the device kind of justifies itself in a weird way, because in addition to trying to be a cool Game Boy experience, it's also accomplishing being a tiny arcade cabinet you can fit in your pocket. And in that context, I guess mission accomplished. Now let's talk about this square screen. It has a 1:1 aspect ratio. It's 720 by 720. And some people see this screen as a limitation. And honestly, I was one of them, at least when the Powkiddy RGB 30 came out. I didn't understand why you'd want a 1:1 screen outside of Game Boy games. But I get it now, because it's all about unexpected versatility. Game Boy games in their native resolution, perfect fit. No stretching, no black bars, nothing. Vertical arcade shooters, ideal. Even Game Boy Advance games work on here. You get some small black bars on the top and the bottom, but the game itself looks pretty sharp and pretty authentic. And here's a bonus, DS games, because you can stack both screens vertically, and this square display starts to make sense. Now, it's not the biggest display. It's a tiny DS experience. But again, this is like $35 on AliExpress. And in a lot of ways, this 1:1 display, it makes sense, right? It's not a gimmick. It's a deliberate choice that opens up options that other form factors just don't have. And now here's where things get interesting. You can play 4:3 games, SNES, Genesis, NES, all that stuff. You can play it in their standard aspect ratios, and you get some black bars on the side. That's fine. That's accurate. But you can also set it to 8:7 ratio, which fills up much more of that square screen. And I know people have differing opinions on 8:7. Some people say, oh, it's the way they intended it. Some people say, it's not 4:3, it's not real. But here's the thing. It's close enough that most people aren't going to notice, and on a 1:1 screen, it just elevates the experience. It makes better use of the real estate. So while the authenticity is debatable, it doesn't look stretched, it doesn't look wrong, and it's such a subtle difference that unless you're comparing it side by side, you probably won't even notice, and you get to use more of that beautiful square screen. And yeah, I'm the first person to say I like 4:3 games on giant 4:3 devices. But a 1:1 screen, it's kind of like the Switzerland of aspect ratios. It compromises with everyone, and it really offends nobody. And with 8:7 as an option, you get to choose purist accuracy or screen optimization. Okay, so we've talked about the bubble lens creating that physical CRT feel, but there's another layer to this, and that of course is CRT shaders. Most emulation handhelds support CRT shaders through RetroArch, and the R36T Max is no exception. These shaders add scan lines, they can add phosphor glow, and they can add that characteristic CRT look to the actual display. Now on a flat screen, CRT shaders can feel a little bit, I don't know, try hard? Is that the right word? It's like you're working really hard to simulate something that isn't there. But on the R36T Max, with that curved lens already giving you physical depth, the shader and the bubble lens just work together. The scan lines on here look natural on a curved surface. There's almost a phosphorus glow that adds depth when you're playing, and it's like the difference between watching a movie on your phone versus watching it in a theater. The individual elements are the same, but the presentation is different. The presentation transforms the experience. You've got a lot of options too, and a fair amount of them come stock on here through this emulation station menu. You go to game settings, go down till you find where they at. Shader set. Now the CRT options here range from just a basic scan line. You have a low-powered CRT Pi shader that's weirdly enough built to run on a Raspberry Pi. I don't know, I kind of like fake lots. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But fake lots, lotes, whatever it is, it enhances the curved look, and I don't know, it feels more real for me. I don't know if it comes across on the camera, especially since this curved lens is kind of hard to keep in frame without picking up glare, but it looks like old games felt, if that makes any sense at all. Now let's compare the same exact game, Lufia 2, running with the same exact shader, fake lots, and running on the same size 1:1 screen. Now they both look fine, but I don't know. The Powkiddy one here, it doesn't feel integrated. On the R36T Max here, the shader feels, at least to me, it feels like it belongs there because the hardware is already meeting it halfway. And here's the thing about the full package. The bubble lens alone is charming. CRT shaders alone are a nice option, but together, on this specific device, they create something greater than the sum of their parts. It's not just simulating a CRT, it's feeling like a CRT. And look, I know it's all fake. The lens is plastic, the shaders are software, the nostalgia is manufactured. But here's what I've learned reviewing dozens, hell, maybe even hundreds of these devices. Sometimes fake nostalgia executed well is more enjoyable than authentic nostalgia executed poorly, if that makes any sense. And there is something on here that we should probably address. It's a little bit uncomfortable because this device has a built-in ROM download feature. You connect to Wi-Fi, you browse a list, and you download games directly to the device. Now here's the thing. ROMs on these devices have always been a morally ambiguous gray area. And I get both sides of the argument. You got some people, they don't care that a device ships with 30-year-old games on an SD card because they're 30-year-old games. But other absolutists will proudly declare how they order these devices with no SD card just so they can load only homebrew and games that they've ripped themselves from their old NES cards. I mean, whatever. These things ship with cards. But now Acelip has a ROM downloader included on here. And if SD cards are a gray area, then let's call this app a much darker gray area. I don't know. Actively downloading ROMs from the device itself, it crosses a line for a lot of people. And I get it. But you're downloading the same ROMs that would be available on the SD card to begin with. Like, it's the same library of games. You can see there's those same 5 CPS3 games, those same 37 CPS2 games. And I guess, kind of like the screen on here, it's functionally the same as getting this with an SD card that has games on it. But again, it kind of feels different. I don't know. I think the fact that this exists shows how aggressively these budget devices are trying to be user-friendly. And I guess it's good if you just want to pick and choose specific games you want on your device. I really want Cybots. And now I have it. Or maybe you're going for a minimalist build for a new user. Or maybe you're a new user yourself and you don't need 2,000 Game Boy games. I mean, I don't know. For better or worse, it's kind of the direction that this market is headed. And I'm not going to download any more games in case people get mad at me. I mean, if you get mad at me, feel free to holler at me in the comments. It only boosts the engagement. And finally, let's kind of talk about the price, because outside of goofy form factors, price is the name of the game with these R36 clones. This goes for about $75 on Acelip's website. It goes for around $69, nice, on Amazon if you use the $30 off coupon they have available. But this goes as low as $35 on AliExpress. Now, obviously, AliExpress is the way to go. And if you use the coupon codes in our description, you can take the price even lower. I wouldn't recommend this at either of those higher prices, but by God, if you can grab this for between $30 and $40 shipped, it is a really cool device to have, even if you only use it for Game Boy or vertical arcade games. Well, Gary, the clock on the wall says it's time for What Did We Learn? And we learned that if you want the most powerful handheld out there, keep looking. There are better options. But if you want something that feels different, if you want a device that embraces aesthetic over pure performance, if you want to play vertical arcade games the way they were meant to be experienced, or if you just think this CRT bubble is charming, even when it's wrong, then yeah, it might be for you. This is kind of a vibe device, as the youth say. It's for people who care about how they play as much as what they play. Oh no, Ryo, you okay? The R36T Max here won't win any performance awards because it's another RK3326 device in a sea of RK3326 devices. But it's the one that makes me smile when I load up some Street Fighter with scan lines on my lunch break. And sometimes that's enough. But yeah, is the CRT bubble anachronistic for Game Boy? Absolutely. Does it matter? Not really. Because here's what does matter. This device is trying something different in a market full of sameness. And that's pretty cool. If you thought this video was pretty cool, remember to like and subscribe and all that jazz. I'm still taking ideas on my 200th video or our 100K subscriber video. And while you're in the comments, let me know what you think of the R36T and the R36T Max. Would you try a fake CRT screen with shaders? Or is this nostalgia gone too far? Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.